on my group. All righty. Well, thank you everybody for showing up to this July 17th, Monday, Legal Shield and Fieldnotes webinar we do. Today, I wanted to discuss something I had in mind, but then again, I will leave it to the floor to see if you guys had any pressing things, but I did have something that I wanted to discuss today.
Oh, drip wisdom upon us.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah, with the fire hose that you normally drip on us with.
No.
And then when I get done, I just swing the little metal part on you just one by one, just to make sure it's in there. It's in there. So
Yeah.
Underline bold.
yes, what I wanted,
To the head.
whatever helps, whatever helps. So for me, what I wanted to discuss was sales cycle, the sales cycle status. I send that out to everybody. I think I've sent it out once. I send it out to the new people that come aboard. And so I wanted to use this as a topic. I wanted to see if anybody has been utilizing them or a variation of them, right? So I just wanted to bring up that as a topic of discussion today, the sales cycle status. Why did we create these? Why are the majority of the people using them, and so on and so forth? And so, do you guys have any questions in regards to the sales cycle status? Like where it kind of came from, what's the good from it, and that kind of stuff.
I think actually Estella and I just kind of had that conversation a few moments ago. So this is perfect. You're
Am I reading
our
minds?
Yes,
Oh, my goodness.
absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Well, the information is in the ether. I tend to be a firm believer of that. And let me just say that I came up with that moments ago. So I want to thank you guys for seeding that and letting me think of it as well and partake in this conversation with y'all. So
I was channeling my inner Jeremy.
there you go. That's what I like to hear. So I have put these into our little test area, right? The prospect, the decision making. This is DM for decision maker, proposal, enrollment, servicing. There's a spot for partner, a spot for network. This is just the beginning sales cycle. So in discussion of like where this came, I think it was you, Jackie, Kathy, and Kathy, right? I think was it all of us in a meeting, and we kind of wanted to.
Yeah,
we
I
needed
don't
something.
remember, but probably.
I think it was the three of you guys, and what we needed was something to help us automate, use action plans through an experience that I had that was like, I think a couple months prior, dealing with action plans and things like that. A lot of action plans were triggered based on a sphere or one of those tags. When trying to do the automation with the system that kind of had already existed when I got here, it just didn't seem viable. Didn't seem like it was going to help you guys any. Just triggering based off of spheres, right? That means you have to add the sphere, that kind of thing. And so I wanted to, I guess, create something different. And through Kathy, and Jackie, we kind of come up with this system. I remember Cassie saying this is how she was taught how to teach others the business. And so it aligned, these options aligned with her, and we figured it was just the best thing to kind of, adopt and utilize. So when you guys, so there's many different ways to prospect. Am I correct? There's walk in the community. There's, I'm assuming maybe just pulling up like a Google search and start looking for businesses in your area, that kind of thing. And so if you were to do that, right, whatever it may be that you find leads, whether if it's one by one, whether if it's through a list, purchased or not purchased, sourced by yourself or not, or if you're part of a chambers of commerce and then through that, right, that's how you start to find these people. Whatever may be the method in which you get, when you upload those people, you will upload them as prospects. whether if the information is complete, whether if it's not complete, it is a bucket in which this person is identified as a prospect because you don't know where where they're at. You maybe had maybe 1 or 2 phone calls, you're still exploring, but you're not speaking to a decision maker. And I think that is the key factor, is that from the prospect, you've identified the decision maker. And then that's what would get you to move this individual 1 step forward, right? So from prospecting, you do all your exploration, you try to find out if it's a business, right? Who's the owner, the whole 9 yards. And it could come from the general manager or one of the employees that, may express the want or the need. And then that's kind of how you figure out of the prospect. And then that's where you kind of take it. But the whole point, I would say, is gathering the information. And then once you've been able to identify that individual, so now you have a decision maker. I'm going to assume with the decision maker, now that you know who it is, you're going to be kind of trying to line up a proposal of some shape or form, or align whatever program that you might have at the moment that you feel that best fits this individual, right? So let's say through straight up decision makers, people that are now categorized as DMs, you begin to further explore, send out more emails, kind of try to put them to the products that you have so that you can get into a proposal stage. So when you get into a proposal stage, now you have decision makers, people who've replied to your emails, that you've verified information, right? Within these 2 steps, hopefully you're checking phone numbers, you're checking people, you're making sure you have the right target, so that when you get into proposal, now it's a clear stage in which this person is, you're trying to align them with something and propose it to them and see what they say. So from here, yes or no, right? Obviously, if it's a no, you may have to go back to the drawing board. It might not be over yet. It just might not be, maybe now is not the right time. Maybe the business is going through some things and they need a couple of times. So that's where that would hold. But the ones that commit, now you're going into enrollment. So now you have the enrollment stage. Now, once again, aligning action plans, aligning duties with each one of these buckets is, of course, what you want to do. So like with the proposal stage, what are some things that you might think an action plan would be good for proposal stage? Can anybody just throw a couple that you may think that might be good? Like, what would you do with an action plan for proposal stage? Anybody got any ideas? So I'll go. I would possibly think of creating, kind of like George. He's got a thank you for taking my phone call, and I'm sorry we didn't connect. So those are 2 great emails for prospecting, right? His action plans is a welcome. Well, in some cases, it's not like a welcome, it's like an introduction. A thank you for taking my phone call with an introduction, plus here's the information I wanted to leave you with. The no, we didn't connect, right, is basically that plus the introduction with this is the information I wanted to leave you with. That can be done email, follow-up text messages a couple minutes afterwards or later on in the afternoon saying, hello, introduction. I sent you an email at, if you could take a look, or if this is not your correct email, let me know. Something along those lines. We've seen that people really do reply back to them. Hey, you've got the wrong email. Yes, perfect. They engage that way. So that's one. Then within that action plan, he sets up for, I think, 7 days to go by. And he sets up a follow-up for him to review that account to see if within that time they have made the initiative to follow up with him, right? I could say that you could make that every day up until the follow-up, an email and a text message saying, hey, I sent you some information. Is today a good day to meet? hey, I sent you some information. Is today good to meet? Like, just kind of keep that kind of, same conversation going, because at the end of the day, you do want to meet, you do want to introduce yourself. Hopefully he does review the email, see what's it all about, and that inspires him to either speak to you or reply to you saying, maybe now's not the right time, whatever excuse may come up. But the whole point is to let's get some dialogue going, right? So I would say a good action plan, something along those lines, 7 days, 15 days, 30 days. I don't know how many times on average it's going to take one person and to get them into a engaged communicative kind of state. But you can play around with it, start off from a week. If you get nothing, let's do 15 days, if not 30. You can build it out as you wish. The second the individual replies, you can stop the action plan. So that's what's good. The action plan is merely just to get this person back in touch with you and you not chasing your tail or chasing this individual. So that will save you more time to dig up more prospects, to look for appropriate candidates, right? That kind of thing, and not waste time on following up with these people and trying to get these people to call you back, right? So that should help. Um, Straight up informative, right? Just a drip campaign. So once you've identified these people as prospects, you could even do a couple of things. You could, once they've become prospects, you can set up protocols such as do some social media stalking, right? So once you identify the person, now you go social media stalk them. What does that mean? Go to his LinkedIn, send him a message there, try to befriend him. I think that's how you do it. Facebook, you could do the same, right? Befriend them or follow any of their groups or follow their company, that kind of thing. And then you can begin to drip on them, right? With a nice little intro and then just have weekly emails. And you could do that for about a month or so before you begin to call the individual. That could be a tactic that kind of softs the terrain for you to kind of go into the people. They kind of get a little bit of, they start to kind of know and hear some of your things before you just flat out start to contact them. To me, if it was me, I would, I would start ASAP. I wouldn't necessarily kind of wait for anything, but that's just me. And there's other approaches to this, right? If you want to kind of soften it before you go in, or you can go in strong and see who you can capture. It really is just based on how you guys want to work. So those are some things that I would be thinking, like in the proposal. What about creating an action plan so that if, let's say by luck, you did get the person, but now they kind of ghost you. Okay, I'm going to put you on my ghost action plan, which is just follow up, consistent follow up. Hey, have you had a chance to, think about what we discussed? And then just consistent kind of one little sentence emails and text message to kind of spark that person to get back in touch with you. When utilizing this kind of tactic with somebody in real estate on an action plan, in a lead source that she paid for, and she had a 23 activity 7-day action plan, which everybody by the 4th and 3rd day communicated to her. Prior using this action plan, nobody followed up with her, communicated with her, right? So to see that the response of the action plan got all of these responsible adults to then reply back to her and give her some form of yes, no, was a godsend to her. She was so happy to see that people were just now replying back to her. And we're all adults, so we can take a no. And that's what she loved. Some people were yes, some people were no, I'm busy. She at least knew where to put these people in the level of her busy day. So, huge, right? What the action plans can do for you and save you some time. So that's prospect. Decision making, I would say that if anybody doesn't have an idea, the same ones from prospecting could apply to the decision making, but now with a little bit more focus, right? Either an action plan that specifically talks about the pain points that you've heard in your conversation. So now it's a little bit more pinpointing the kind of products that you're putting in front in the verbiage and the information. If a decision maker ghosts you, once again, you could have something that's a little bit more personal, a little bit more soft. because they're a decision maker, you've been able to identify who they are. Obviously, you don't want to piss them off, or you don't want to say anything that would then upset him or treat him like a nobody. So I'm thinking similar action plans would work for the decision maker. For proposal, you might not have many front-facing action plans for the customer, but they could be facing you, meaning the action plan has a bunch of to-dos set up in the proposal stage so that you're staying on top of people that you need to propose and put plan things together to hopefully sell them. Again, with enrollment, I would think that you would have more facing yourself kind of emails, just so that you can make sure that everything with the enrollment gets done, whether if it's follow-ups, reminders, things like that. So now talking about servicing is a group that you've won, and all of its members, right? So everybody that is let's say a paid customer or somebody that's bought from your product, they're now in servicing, right? So now you've basically taken somebody from the start to finish getting to servicing. So 0 to 4 essentially is that sales flow that should help you, bring in as much prospects as possible, work as many as you can into the second stage, which is the decision maker, get them into the proposal, get them into the enrollment, and obviously get them to servicing. And so do we have any questions up until this point, servicing, and then how and what action plans, and what's a good reason for all of this? Can anybody, or does anybody have anything to add or questions about this?
I don't have
I
any,
have a question.
I don't have any questions, but I really like the flow of this. I just need to get it set up in my system and then get the actions plans, and what I see this doing really is my job is just put prospects in and then just let the system drip on them. And then they will get back to me. And then I know they're reading my stuff. They're getting ready. This looks like a big plus. I like it.
Yeah, no, this is like when you're making cement and you're sifting. This is now, once you've built this, each part has like a little sifting to go on, right? Dig through all the prospects to see who are decision makers. From all of those, who can you get into proposal? Who can you get into enrollment? And then you're just going to be left. Obviously, the pebble is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then you're going to have the people. But yes, it's intended to, for not everybody, the action plans are going to work the way that I've described, because I've just seen that not everybody likes to automate everything. They want to do a little bit of their own manual automation. What I'm going to say is, after doing that for 6 months, you're most likely going to want to automate, because you've done it for 6 months. You know what's going on. You have a system to it. So that's what I would say is, try to adopt something like this, or turn this into your own flow, right? If these aren't your necessary categories to the next steps, build them as you please, because I'm still going to make sense of it through your stages, regardless of what you call them. But yes, it is intended so that you can use X and Y action plan for prospects, educating them. If you build out something through trial and error, so I'm not going to say that you're going to hit it on the head the first time, but through trial and error, you're going to build a prospecting email that educates them, gets them to, climatize to yourself. And what you really want is a yes or no, or you want to be able to hear the pain, all of that kind of stuff. And so, yes, it should definitely help you cut through everything, get everybody through servicing. So partner is a
So
category.
Jeremy,
Yeah, go ahead.
so this is Stella.
How you
So
doing?
if I understand what you're saying is, for each one of these categories, whether it's a prospect, DM, proposal, so on and so forth, we're going to have steps behind how do we treat a prospect. What happens when we have a DM? There's a flow for each one of these areas. Is that correct?
I'm giving you a cabinet and some type of filing system, right? So I'll leave you as the library on how you want to organize them and what processes you want to put into place. But yes, that's what this is. This is more of just an outline for you guys to follow. If you guys like it, you're welcome to use it. But yes, you can build into it as you please, right? That's the beautiful thing about this. Some people don't do specific follow-ups. Some people just do a specific, you know, kind of job, and then that's it. They, you know, and so what I'm suggesting is just from basically what I've heard, but it's not set in stone. It's for you to decide. But
Okay, so when you
this
have a
should,
DM or warm or whatever,
the ones that I've
you
been speaking of are these ones. Some of these cold, hot, they come in the system and they're not, you can't manage them. You'll be able to see that they don't have, you can't delete them. And so those were intended, you know, you can still
right.
use hot, warm, and cold, right? You could still, if you wanted to break these prospects down from prospects and then maybe do like a 0.1 or a 0A.
Yeah, because you have different types of prospects.
If you wanted to break it down in this here, it would be perfectly right. So you could use prospect, and then you could have a warm prospect, a hot prospect, a cold prospect, breaking up your prospects into 3 buckets. Or you could have everybody just in one. It just really just depends. If you've got a lot of people and it's crazy, yes, the more you break it down, the more you can create little focus groups or different levels to it. It might give you that insight to get, who do I get to the next stage, or that kind of thing. Or if it's just perfect, knowing that that person is a prospect, you putting in good notes so that when you go through review everybody, you can kind of get up to speed with the notes, make the phone call while it's ringing. You're quickly, you know, at a glance, kind of capturing all the information. And then you go into it and hopefully you're able to pick up from where you last left off, right? If you put in good notes and the contact is there, you should be able to pick up without a problem. And so, and then deciding what's the protocol for prospects. Yes, this is all, so the best thing you can do to a salesman is give him organization, give him steps that he has to follow. Usually when you follow those steps, when it was brought to my attention, that person was like getting closer to the stage. So the way it was taught to me was, you've got to commit these things, and the sales was credit. It was credit. I don't know if it was credit repair, but it was credit relief or something like that. So we had to get people through like an emotional roller coaster to kind of, right? So that I would say, what I would be doing in this prospecting is trying to get somebody to go through those hoops. Then I can get to the decision maker. That's where I would kind of be going with it. But different sales, different kind of thing. But for you guys, the more you guys can outline those things and commit to them and get them done, you're more likely moving that prospect further than others in which you didn't have any kind of process set up. Keith.
Keith has his hand up.
Tell me.
Thank you, guys. Can you hear me okay? I'm having trouble with my computer today and yesterday and the day before.
You're good.
Time for your computer.
We hear
Okay.
you, Keith. We hear you.
We hear you loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Here? Okay.
Because
All
I
right,
care
thank
for
you.
you.
Estella, this is 24 touches. This is 24 touches taken to the next level. We've been working on the 24 touches that you're going to put into your field notes for the general follow-up throughout the year. Every 2 weeks, they're being dropped some seed so that you are at top of mind. This is 24 touches that you can think of. If you think about the prospecting phase, when you just contacted, got the business card, what are the 24 touches that you want to put into play with a new prospect? And the nice thing about this on Field Notes is you can not only designate what it is that you want to provide them, you can put them on a drip campaign that's based upon what you believe to be the important aspects that they should be receiving. And then, you know, through development, you're going to develop the tools that have the highest degree of return. The A/B testing. Well, I send out 100 of this and I send out 100 of that, and I got more responses on this one. Okay,
Yep.
because I got 75 responses on A, and I only got 22 responses on B. So this is 24 touches in the prospecting realm.
Can I
Thanks.
add something to the 24 touches?
Yes, please.
So we all agree that there's many different ways to sell, right? Has anybody heard the concept of an 8x8 and what that 8x8 is good for?
It's a big bandage.
So an 8x8, definitely, in the real estate realm, is a once a week for 8 weeks touches. What is this used for? This is used for recently getting to know people. So you put them on an 8x8 with once a week activities in which you decide what they are, but each and every weekly activity is to bring you closer to that person, and we're shooting for the friend zone. So in the prospecting, you could fire off an 8x8, right? When you get to servicing, you would definitely do a 24, but I've heard of 12, 24s. I've even heard 32s. What does the magic number mean? It's just how many times in a year are you reaching out to this person? The reason for it, just as Keith has said, top of mind. But the 8x8 is to lay the foundation of friendship, of trust, of rapport. And in your guys' business, I think one person can bring you many different levels of business, just one person, right? They could do this, they could do that. But then again, by you taking care of them, well, you now have their network of people that you are now in the circle with, right? Because you've presented yourself not only as just a service, but you've positioned yourself as a friend. When people do things for friends, I mean, you go all out. You go and buy a nice bottle of wine instead of some box wine from Costco, right? You'll do something additional to a friend that you would for just some random gathering. And so that's what you utilize the 8x8 in conjunction with a good 24, 32, or 12, which is just the amount of touches that you do throughout the year. And you could set that up with the prospecting, right? So let's say in the beginning for prospecting, you set up 8x8s, but you don't set up any kind of sell the product to the individual. Essentially, you're going to introduce yourself. You're going to tell them about all the things that you do. And then throughout the next 2 months, you're going to do everything in your will to befriend this individual, to, explore, find out things about them, align the products with them, right? But it's always in more of a discussion. You're never really saying anything to them. It's all active listening, and you're essentially just listening for the pain, right? That's the different well to sell, because if you can hear pain with their business, and you know how they've had to contact their lawyers for so many different stupid reasons, but it's just been a headache with the lawyers, and it's a cost that they really didn't, think, because it went from, small to huge. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, great. You just take it in. You do this over the next 8 weeks. And then once you've gained that person's rapport, for you to say something to them and offer them a service, and now that it comes from a friend instead of somebody that I just didn't even know, they're most likely to give you their true, honest, right response, which hopefully leans towards a yes, based on how good you laid down that 2-month foundation, right? So I don't know, gives you the 2 months to show off that you really know what you're talking about, how you've saved people money, how you were able to help businesses. All of that kind of stuff has happened within that 2 months. Then, you start going for the jugular, which to that person, they're not going to know any difference other than, this is my friend, doing it to me. It's not some nobody. So just a different way, but that's what I could say in regards to touches. And with like an 8x8 and utilizing this kind of structure, that goes hand in hand. And I won't say any more, but I'll let Steve ask his question.
Oh, thank you, Jeremy. I just had the question, probably you've already gone over this, but once you set up your series of touches and such in these categories, if you move somebody from prospect to DM, does that automatically trigger the systems that you set up, the email chain and the different touches? Or when you change the category, do you then go in and have to set the action plan in place and kick it off, so to speak?
That's a yes and a no. So you could essentially so with this foundation, you can automate everything, right?
Yes.
Or you can do it manually. My whole thing is do it manually, wait till you get tired of it. You'll then most likely willingly go to the automation. But for me to say, hey, do the automation, I only do it because I trust it. Because I've already had, handful of experience with this that I kind of know how it is. So for me, yes, I would spend the time, build everything, automate it. And then as you move people through it, it will stop one and start them on the next. But I would say do that once you've fully walked yourself through all the manual play of it, because how I see it is this is a game, this is Monopoly, and you're taking your figure, which is the new prospect, and you're moving him through the board. And if that game piece can land and achieve its goal and make it all the way back to home, then you've either sold them or put them in a non-interested, and you just continue to drip on them until the cows come home. And then let's say life grabs them by the cojones and says, you know what? Where were you all my life? I could use some legal shield, And then you just basically take that incoming and take it to the end zone. And that would probably be the easiest one that you've ever sold. But that was coming from, you first did the outreach, you tried to gain him. He said, no, not now. Not, this isn't for me. And you just kind of keep him on the drip. And then life says, hey, you could use a little bit of legal shield or ID shield or whatever it might be. And then he's like, yeah. And he has all your information. He's got all your emails. He's got your text message. He knows where to find you, right?
Move them around the board and then analyze, are you in jail or do you own Broadway?
Right. And buy as you go. Buy. But that's what I do. I tell everybody to come up with this, and then I move them through. I say, okay, well, let's take a prospect and let's go through the stages and everything. Let's make sure that they have a home and that you have steps that either you're thinking about or what could go on. But that's me. That's the true test that if anybody gives me theirs, I would work them through is that questionnaire, right? And so it can go two different ways, but I would definitely go for a manual, work it through, play around with it, have a little bit more hands-on. And then once you've kind of dialed your program in, then start to set up everything. But I'm going to say, so Kathy Lucas, she was one that partook in this. She now asks me, and I'm not saying crazy things, but let's say out of the box request for, can we use this action plan? She wants to now, she's got broker led groups, which the broker has requested. I need to know 6 months. No, I need to know 2 months in advance when a group is coming up for open enrollment. So with the foundation that we have, she is able to have broker-led groups identified. And then through the referral source, we are able to create different brokers, right? So now we have a referral source that is also in conjunction with a broker-led account. And through these different these tags and categories, we can now isolate these companies and set up a follow-up so that that person gets an email from Kathy saying that this person is up for open enrollment. Here's the company name, here's their date, and it sends an email to them. And then she has an email that sends to her 30 days to follow up with the broker. So that was just something new, but she asked me, and I think I was able to kind of like fulfill it within like 15 minutes, 10 minutes within conversation. So if none of this was laid down as a foundation, I would not be able to give her a clear answer on how the heck we're going to do what you just asked for. But now she knows exactly what she needs to do, what she needs to create when she gets another broker-led group. I mean, and now she can, if she's working with brokers, right? And I would imagine sometimes it's a pain in the ass to work with different people, but if I was a broker and I'm working with somebody that has a system and they're able to tell me 2 months in advance, and then magically she's always following up with me 30 days on the clock, like this is just weird, but she's always on top. I mean, I would love to do more business with that lady. You know what I mean? So who knows? It could mean, you know, hey, I got more broker led. Hey, I got more, you know, more opportunities because you seem to be like, you know what you're doing, right? Little do they know, they got a system. So it's not like she's thinking about it. She's just got the system working, dialed in. So this is a little bit of, I guess, that, right, on steroids. But yeah, to answer your question, you can do it 2 different ways. Gary?
Yeah, you know, I just want to kind of build on this. And Rick Allen, if you could put your listening ears on. So, okay, so
I'm listening.
my intent is when I get a new client, whether it's on the network side or on the group side, I want to work on onboarding them, making sure they're using the service and getting to know me. Well, they know my name if they have a question, but prospect has a good onboarding campaign. And if I don't want to build a campaign exactly like that, is there a way to bring the prospect onboarding campaign into Fieldnotes, do you think?
Sure.
Manually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's like any type of integration, right, in that regard. But if you know what the sequence is, if you know what the communications is, for me now, when I look at drip campaigns or when I look at, right, I can just kind of see, I go by activities and then, you know, frequencies within those activities, kind of try to get an understanding of what they're trying to achieve with, but like what you said, onboarding. I mean, that's okay. So we get somebody to servicing, right? We have the trend micro, the not trend micro. We've got the welcome. We've got the retention one, right? Which talks about setting up your will. I think the first one is the welcome and the introduction, like how to get, what's your account number, and then the different apps that you can sign up to, things like that. So we've got that front facing to the customer. But what about one for you that actually does that exploration and is actually following up with the client, asking, did you do this? Were you able to get your will done? Yes, you did. Excellent. I'm glad to hear, because you just, you know, you never know when you're going to need one of those. And then this is where the storytelling and like selling kind of comes into vault, you know, so you can hit them with the story just to kind of make sure and just let them know what it is you're showing this person, I really know what I'm doing, and I've done this with hundreds, I've seen people, you know, time, that kind of thing. And you're positioning yourself as the know-it-all, right? The one with the answers. So hopefully, if they have those, they use you as a source, right? They feel like you're my to-go person, that kind of thing, making the relationship just more solid, right? But that is a perfect thing to do, right? Onboard them, show them all the bells and whistles, but most importantly, ensure that they are using it, that they're getting the value. I think if somebody is getting the value, got their will done, got this, why am I going to just cancel the service if I got a bunch of stuff done? It's like a protection, kind of like, you know, having it there ready to go, right? A gun in the closet kind of thing, shotgun in the closet. So do you have anything to add, Rick?
Oh, just keep that shotgun behind the door. Don't put it in the closet. That's too far away.
Right. All right. Keep it close to you. Keep it close.
Yeah.
But
no, I mean, it's like, you know, going from the concept of the 24 touches, which really is just 24 touches in one aspect of what you're doing as a Legal Shield associate versus where you mentioned, okay, no, any one given person can be in all of these different stages, and there may be a number of touches within that stage. And some people are going through your system as a DM prospect. Some people are going through your system as a recruiting prospect, and some may be going through something similar as your bowling league, so it can do all of those different things. So you get a lot of ways to slice and dice. Yes, you can use the
spheres
spheres.
to add a specific sphere to the prospect kind of category.
Right.
And then that can help you.
Yeah, the one thing technically about it is if you are using the follow-up frequency, as Jeremy was showing us, that's where I would probably have, I don't know, like a 0-1. So I know that if it starts with a 0, this is my DM prospecting stuff. If it starts with a 3, I might have 3-1, 3-2, 3-3. This is somebody that I'm putting through that kind of a system as a potential recruit. So that's one of the because with the follow-up frequency, any individual can only be in one of those at a time.
Mm-hmm. And
you can put them in as many spheres as you want, but in one of those. So.
And I intended these 1, 2s to definitely be as a visual tool.
Right.
Now you're going to the next degree, giving them kind of codes number-wise so that it triggers in your head, but you just have to memorize, right?
Yeah.
Know your stages, know your levels, and then
or you can put it in. So you could put a 0 0 DM prospect, because you can name these anything you want them. 3 0 might be recruiting prospect, so you don't have to just memorize them. But the 0 0 versus 3 0 or 3 1, that's going to help it sort in the right order for you.
Yes.
And then your verbiage that you put behind it gives you what you need to trigger in your mind. Okay, this is a recruiting process versus a DM process versus simple sales process. So, or bowling league process.
Exactly. Right. Because if this is, for business and pleasure, as long as it's categorized, right, with a sphere, with some other categories, or you can make them totally independent from this. So if I wanted to, I could go into here and just call all of these LS for Legal Shield. And then I could do the same for here. And you guys all have heard of ERC, right? Well, if the contacts don't mix, if the products don't, if the person can't also be Legal Shield and ERC, the same thing, you can create different sets of flows, put an abbreviation for whatever the business it might be, have your own set of flow to it. And this is your Legal Shield flow. And then you've got your ERC flow. You've got Medicare flow. You've got whatever it is, and you can just, MC, that's your Medicare, or however you want to categorize them, but you can categorize them in separate things, and then you can utilize them. I'm currently thinking of I'm trying to think of a system similar to this. However, it allows anybody to walk through this continuously. So let's say they came in as a prospect for business solutions and they did that, but then what if you were doing ERC as well? So they're going to come back into your flow as ERC, right? So I'm trying to think of what is a way to manage that, where somebody can go through the circle multiple times, but yet have different categories. I think I'm going to use spheres or one of those tag options in conjunction through the flow so that the person can not have separate flows, but one flow, and the person can kind of circle and go through it over and over, right? Because of depending on the products. But this is, I guess, just two different ways to skin the cat when it comes to thinking of the categories and having them spark your interest, not spark your interest, but key you to doing specific things. I don't think that that's a bad idea. So
Just keep it simple in your mind, because if it becomes complex in your mind, that's where the rubber not only meets the road, it stays right there. It ain't going anywhere else.
But that's also a little bit of why and how I built this, so that people could tailor it to themselves depending on how. Right.
And let me just mention too, if you're changing the labels like that, where Legal Shield, Prospect 1 or DM or ERC or MC or whatever system you decide, put in 1 or 2 and then say done and check it, and make sure that how you're putting it in sorts in the order that you want, because the system's going to sort it alphabetically by number. Maybe you want all your DMs together. Maybe you want steps 1 through 6 for DM together, steps 1 through 6 for proposal together. You know, how do you want that? So kind of think through that process so it sorts in the order that makes sense to you. So don't do the whole thing and then be like, holy cow, this is all mixed up. You know, and I've done that. So do a few of them, see how you like the sorting of it. But it's really helpful to do that with your different tags there. So
yes,
I like to
think
slowly
about
work
those
the
names.
people, you know, through the game board kind of, right?
Yeah.
Practice with them and kind of, you know, do some pre-work with, does the flow work, right? This is where I have somebody, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Another thing I was going to mention quickly before I let Keith get in is, the more you break it down and the more subcategories and everything like that, it does create more work at the end, right? The more you're able to condense it into bigger groups, easier it is. You're going to be more kind of, you know, shooting into the field, trying to hit 40 people at a time instead of trying to pinpoint specific demographics and specific products. So keep that in mind. You can break it up. Kathy has it really broken up into trend micro, not trend micro, ID Shield and combo, and, you know, all of these CDLP with ID Shield and just different levels, because what she wants at the end of the day is to have action plans that she's built that speak to those combinations, that speak to those specific topics. She doesn't want to just send out an action plan that speaks of all of it, right? And then that person has to feed through that information to get what they want. She wants to do a little bit of that. So when people say, oh, but I got these and I got to break down this, if that's fine, if you're a person that likes to pay attention to detail. If you're not, and you want to keep it simple, Cassie Prinky has it more generic, but then again, she's dealing with a lot more accounts at a time. She doesn't micromanage at that kind of level. So for her, it's more shooting into the field kind of thing. But for others, it's more pinpoint, does create a little bit more work, definitely outweigh it. Is it worth my time? Is this going to drive me crazy? That kind of thing. And then, you know, tailor it upon that. But Keith, tell me.
Thank you. So this past week on the elements of virtual selling, we discussed and revisited the concept of mind mapping, because I know some of you are sitting there right now and watching the screen. And some of you are like, oh, this is like, I've got a headache already. My headache is there and my heart hurts because I can't figure out where to go with all. So mind mapping might be a tool that would prove to be very, very valuable. And I want to invite you to go back to, I'm not going to go into that all right now because that's a class that I do unto itself, and Rick does too. That we're talking about reducing it to the ridiculous, if you will. to make it to its smallest denominator so that you can actually visualize your thought as to what you want to happen. And it's extremely fluid. Therefore, it gives you the ability to adjust as you need to. So I want to invite you to go back to Elements of Virtual Selling. Go check out the mind mapping class. And you want to prepare to take our class that we're coming up with called Your Second Brain, and how to get some of this stuff out of your head so you stop having headaches and you start enjoying your life a little more. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Please go back to Elements of Virtual Selling. Check out the class we did and the guides. Perhaps, Rick, you could put that in the thingamajig, the chat area, and check out the class on mind mapping to start. And of course, this last Saturday, which will be posted on Thursday, we discussed that a little bit further too. Thank you, Jeremy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would highly recommend anything those two individuals put together. So those guys got some good gray matter in between those floppy pieces of meat, we call ears. So absolutely. Yeah, what can I say for a good group of guys? But yes, you guys do have good things to help people if you're not an organized individual and you don't know these tools exist and things like that. It's definitely going to help you kind of skin the cat, figure out what it is that you guys need to do, and to get it done. So I do want to wrap it up. I don't know if anybody has any outstanding questions that they wanted to ask that I could possibly address now.
Real quickly, Jeremy, I was on the road all day Thursday. Did George go through his method on Thursday? Was it recorded, and where could I find it? I really wanted to be on it, but driving and trying to take notes usually leads to an accident.
Yeah, and try to explain that to the deputy, right? I was well,
I already told him I knew Jeremy, and that only got me in more trouble.
It was funny, when I was like 11 in Costa Rica, my grandfather would take his license, put it in my pocket, and then send me in his car, in his truck, to the local gas station. And I was like 11, and he was like, "Yeah, they pull you over, just show them my ID." I was like, "No, it doesn't work like that, Grandpa. I come from the United States. We don't do that." That's the quickest way you're gonna go to jail. But everybody knew my grandfather, so when I did get pulled over, this 11-year-old boy used my grandfather's license and like, "Go home and go home now, because if we see you, we gonna get you." And then so that kind of
And
scared
now we
me.
know where identity theft began.
That's right. It started with a little boy like me. I was taught the nonsense.
And
But
isn't
yeah,
it sad that was not a million years ago when a community actually was able to trust one another? Isn't that cool?
Yeah, we lived with our doors open, and everybody was it was different times in Costa Rica. Now you couldn't do that, but it just reminded me to that. But okay, so to answer your questions, yes, recorded. Is it uploaded yet? Hasn't been, but will be. So I would say by the end maybe of the week, it should be up and there for everybody to look. This Thursday, we have Kathy Lucas. She will be discussing pre-cancel. That's her topic of discussion. And so she will discuss how she uses pre-cancels. We can see a little bit of her system and how she uses it. And so if you guys are curious, right, to have an inside view, you will have a chance to view. And so definitely this Thursday, I recommend, if anybody wants just to get that kind of insight, to hang around and to check it out.
Jeremy, I want that information, but I have an appointment I cannot cancel. Do you know how soon that'll be posted?
Which one, George or Kathy?
Kathy's, but is George's already up or not?
No, it's been recorded. Like I have it. I just haven't got it to the gentleman who does the editing and all that. And then
but can you put in the chat this place? Is it the Vimeo.com site?
It's the Vimeo.
Yeah. So because they should all the new UI videos are here, correct?
Oh yeah. No, we've now got somebody consistently uploading.
Yeah.
the 4-6 months of stuff that didn't get uploaded, that I was only able to upload like 20 gigs at a time.
Yeah.
That is over with. And so we are now, like you can see, so this is July 3rd. It's the 17th. So
Oh, wonderful.
I should have a couple of more that I should send over to this gentleman, and he will get
Mhm.
on them. And so yeah, so it should be up there, George, like later on this week, and then we'll do Kathy's. So I would assume maybe by the following week we'll have Kathy's up. And then after that, Cassie Trinke had agreed to show hers. And so that is going to be who's next. And then if anybody else wanted to throw themselves under the bus, well, we've got the bus for you. But yes, so I definitely thank everybody for showing up to this one. I hope I was able to deliver, right? And I didn't not deliver, but yes. And then if you guys have topics, if you guys have things in which you guys want to go over and, you know, discuss with the masses, feel free to reach out to me, let me know, and I can pencil it for something to talk about and that kind of stuff. All righty. Well, I definitely thank everybody for showing up today, and you guys have a great start of your week.
Thank you,
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you, you too.
Very
Thanks,
good.
Jeremy.
Ciao, ciao, guys. Bye-bye now.